Let's bring in Darrin Porcher, former NYPD lieutenant. And Darrin, AP is now confirming that the suspect is dead.
Yeah, John, I think that this is a positive outcome that the suspect has been neutralized. But the testament that we really need to support is that relationship between police and law enforcement, how they have that recurring training between the two entities, because that's going to be paramount. Oftentimes, these religious institutions, such as what we see here on television, have hired ex-police officers who are skilled and have a genuine understanding in how to provide the fortification in the building, such as what we see here. These religious institutions have been under siege. And when we look at and when we read the tea leaves from what happened in the Tree of Life shooting, it was something that led us to believe that we need to do more to fortifying these types of locations. So fortunately, no one was hurt. And I'm thankful that the assailant in this particular case didn't do recon, because had he waited at a longer point in the time of the day, there would have been more victims. So we were fortunate enough that this appears to be a lone wolf attack. So what we're going to do now is something we refer to as a backwards investigation. That's going to start with capturing video at the scene, coupled with going into this individual's cell phones and also connecting with people that do have a relationship with this person to find out how far back the planning took place and how it manifested into the combustible situation that we see on television. Thankfully, this came to an appropriate end, but we still need to continue to provide the necessary fortifications, because at this point in time, we're at war, and we've heard statements that have come from Iran that made mention to the propensity for attacks in the homeland. So now is the time for us to do what's right to protect our United States, as well as institutions of this magnitude.
Darrin, just a little bit more information about Temple Israel. It calls itself the nation's largest Reform synagogue, 12,000 members. It has an early childhood education center and offers educational programs for families as well as adults. The synagogue says it is passionate about helping Jewish communities across the globe. It has been growing in number, notably, and it says its mission is to create a community building through the lens of Reform Judaism. The Jewish Federation of Detroit has advised all Jewish organizations in the area now to go into lockdown, a lockout protocol. Nobody in or out of your building. You just imagine, Darrin, that Jewish communities, synagogues all over the country are going to increase their security, and terribly, they're going to live in fear following another incident like this.
Well, Sandra, when we look to the anti-Semitic behavior on a global perspective, it's clear that the Jewish community has been under siege. So they've been very good in hardening their workplace or institutions of religious learning, such as what we see on television. And it's unfortunate society has come to this point, but I will say that the Jewish community is doing a tremendous job in hardening their facilities to assist or prevent attacks of this magnitude being far more catastrophic. We're fortunate we've only had the shooter neutralized and no one else. Remember, 1,200 people had the propensity to come to this location at a later time throughout the course of the day. John, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, yeah, to your point there, you know, in the aerial shots that we see of the synagogue, there do appear to be bollards on the concrete pathway areas in between the driveway and the building itself. You can see their sort of center screen. You see a couple of police cars, and on the paved area, the concrete pathway leading to where you see the smoke, there's a couple of things there just off the sidewalk. Those appear to be bollards, those small ones. And then larger bollards you see on the right-hand side of your screen. That's to prevent vehicle-borne attacks. I mean, again, that's part of where we have come in America. And you come to Washington, D.C., you see those literally lining every street where there's an important building because people are driving vehicles into buildings, you know, all over the world, and many times they're laden with explosives. And if you can stop them from getting in the building, you can certainly dial down the potential for a catastrophic attack. But how that vehicle got in that building, I'm not sure, given that there did appear to be some barricade in front of the sidewalk there. Maybe drove under that tree, part of the grassy area there that is just off of the sidewalk. Not sure, Darrin, but again, you talk about this idea of places like synagogues, churches, having to protect themselves. This is part of the protection.
John, you're absolutely right. I live in New York City, and when you go through Times Square, or even if you go through the area of where Fox News is located, these bollards are being erected because this has now become the natural order of business as it relates to the fortification. People are weaponizing these vehicles and using them as something that can cause a severe injury or even death to whether it's the people on the street or the occupants of a building. But at the same token, this has become far more universalized as it relates to these balance, and it's here to stay. And I only see more coming in the future.
Darrin, so we're waiting any further update from the police there. Obviously, this is an incredibly active scene. We have not been told to, to call this not an active shooter situation anymore, although we are now reporting that the suspect is believed to be dead. But the sheriff very notably said when he offered new details that they are still searching to confirm whether or not there was anybody else involved in this, Darrin, and likely that is the search that is happening right now, and they're asking anybody who saw anything to please call in.
Right. The synagogue itself has a series of counter surveillance measures, which are primarily video, and that's capturing.
I'm looking at what, Jake?
I'm sorry, this video is capturing the events that transpired just a few minutes ago as it related to the shooter being neutralized. That's going to be something that's going to be very significant in trying to identify the rationale as to why this person did it, what directional path they took to get to the location, and it's going to assist them as we move forward into an after-action review. That after-action review is actually occurring now to determine the positives and the negatives. As John mentioned, although the balance were located at the location, we still had a vehicle that was able to get through. So how can they fortify themselves greater? And by looking through the lens of this video, they're going to be able to make those determinations and create those additional fortifications as it relates to moving forward and protecting those innocent individuals that attend to this location so they don't have to be in fear moving forward.
Darrin, forgive me for the interruption. I was communicating with the control room. So we just have now from Bill Malugin the following reporter. Senior federal law enforcement confirms our reporting that the suspect is dead. Additionally, told the suspect's body is badly burned. He was killed by armed security. Bill is told that he rammed the car into the building, had a rifle, got into a shootout with security who killed him. The car was on fire inside, and that would obviously be the source of the smoke coming out of that building. So it would appear now that the immediate threat to the synagogue is over, but now we're dealing with the aftermath and making sure that that fire gets out, clearing the smoke from the building, and then trying to piece together how this all went down, Darrin.
Right. An inflammatory device inside is more than likely the cause of why this individual burned up. It appears to me that this was a suicide mission that the assailant was on. And fortunately, we had the appropriate security that was able to neutralize him. In the earlier part of the segment, I heard mentioned as it relates to good guys with guns. This is where the Second Amendment is supported. Mm-hmm. We need to have good people that have the appropriate background checks and training to ensure that we have a safe and tranquil society. It's a shame that it's gotten to this point, but at the same token, it has gotten to this point. So by being at this point, what do we do to create the necessary fortifications? What you look at on your screen right now is where it came to fruition, and this is how it works when we have good guys with guns protecting us as an innocent society.
Okay, Darrin, thank you very much for joining us.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.